Okay, good evening, everybody. How are you all doing today? By the time you see this, it'll be Wednesday, July the 29th, and we're going to do a technical analysis today on Bitcoin. It's been a while since we've even touched up on Bitcoin because the goal of a trader is to always focus on chasing volatility. And despite how volatile Bitcoin was, when you think of it from the perspective of percentage gains, it's not nearly as volatile as coins like excuse me, like Cardano, like VeChain, like Link, right? Like Bitcoin Cash, like Litecoin. And there's been a lot of other potentials out there right now that have yielded a much more substantial gain. And that's why I've been focusing a lot more on other coins. And it's hard to believe, but my time is it's just so busy recently, just helping out everybody and responding to people and trying to pump out as much content as I can that I think is relevant and of high quality, of course. So, without further ado, let's just get right into this technical analysis. Bitcoin has broken out of resistance, if that was pretty obvious, okay? So, the first thing that we always do, okay, is let's just check out how the monthly is doing so far. That's usually the first thing that I always recommend to people. And what we're going to note is that there's a beautiful candle right here. Definitely one of the most bullish candles that I've seen in a while, other than perhaps for this month over here. That was in March. Was that March? April. April was a fairly bullish month. But what we have to understand is that July, believe it or not, it's one of the lower volume months this year. In fact, if we take a look at the volume for 2020, it's the lowest volume month so far. Take a look at it. We're seeing here January, February, March, April, May, June, and July, okay? So January was pretty low, February was really low, March was really high because it was downtrending all the way from 9,000 to the 4,000 ranges. And this month is the lowest volume month of the year so far. And we have to understand that there's this huge resistance from way back in June and July of last year. So it's kind of funny how this year, in July of 2020, we're reaching the same resistance as we are in July of 2019. And when I say the resistance, I don't mean the top of the wicks. I'm talking about the body, okay? The close right there of June and the open of July. So that's one thing we're going to make note of right here. Let's go to the weekly. This is going to help us out a lot more. So if we go to the weekly right here, what we see is that this right here could have been drawn as a resistance like this. Okay, so that's clearly a resistance that we see, and Bitcoin has definitely broken out of it right here. So the moment that we were hitting around the $9,400 ranges, people were extremely excited about it. I personally was really excited about it because I knew that other coins would be moving a multiplying factor of Bitcoin. And when I say a multiplying factor, I'm referring to, for example, if Bitcoin ends up moving like 3%, a lot of coins will move 3% and you multiply that by a number, like times 2 or something. So Bitcoin moves 3%, other coins could be moving about 6%, right? A multiplying factor of 2. So if you look on the weekly right here, and you see that we're finally breaking out of pretty much an RSI resistance, you can say almost, okay? When you compare this peak right there and that peak, that's a lower high. But that peak and that peak right there, the RSI is finally getting to a higher price point right there, or higher strength, which is amazing. Not nearly as high as that one, of course, back in May, but that's all right for now. And then if you go on the daily here, and the MACD is definitely trending to the upside, right? We were sort of coming down for the past few weeks, but then we made a recovery and bounced to the upside. So the goal is to review whenever you do a technical analysis, it's to review every single time frame and you weigh which way it's leaning towards, bullish or bearish. Of course, a lot of smartasses out there are going to say, yes, it's going to go up or down. Yeah, that's true. But our goal is to weigh which way it's more leaning towards on each time frame. So we can take all this data and we put it on like a balance beam in our head and we weigh overall which way we think it is leaning. Okay? And then we say to ourselves, well, if it weighs more towards, say, the upside, where could it possibly hit? And if it comes to the downside, we say, well, where could it possibly hit? And then we actually end up doing both scenarios anyways. This way, to give you a clear-cut example, is if it does go to the upside and we know our target, right? And we're leaning towards that way and we end up rallying to go long and it does and it breaks out and we're right, we want to know our target, right? So we want to know the resistance. But if for some reason we're wrong and we went long, well, we want to know, first of all, you got to have your stop loss, okay? And if you have your stop loss implemented, you know to take the loss, okay? Because then you know you're wrong. There's no point of holding and hoping. Don't ever forget that. But then you take your stop loss, and the reason you want to evaluate the other way as well is so you can plan. You can plan, for example, let's just say you're going long and you're wrong. It ends up going down. Well, you cut your loss and you make a choice, right? And a lot of the choices could involve, like two choices, for example, could be, will you want to, after you've taken your loss and you've hit your stop loss, you're done, are you going to join the crowd and actually go short with them as well, right? That's one option. And you also need to calculate in or figure out, if you were wrong, where would the support be, right? Not just the resistance if you're going long, but where would the support be as well? And if you know where the support is, if you are wrong when you went long, right, and then you're stopped out, and then you decide to go short as well, you say to yourself, well, I know where my target is. I already calculated where the support is, right? Am I going to go short with it? So that's one possible option that you can take. Another possible option is clear as well, which is if you don't go short, you know where the support is. Will you be longing there? But even if you don't long there at the support, but it's going to give you an idea of where to pay attention, okay? So there's a lot of psychological things. It's kind of like a game of chess. What is worth it more, right? A game of probability, what has a higher chance of it occurring, and what are the highest chances of me making a high probability type of trade. So lots of things to evaluate, and we see on the weekly here. Let's go on the daily so you guys can see it much more clear, okay? I'd say right around here is the $10,400 range that broke out. That was a really nice resistance that was sloped, and I was saying that 9,400, 9,500, all the way to 10,500 was a resistance. And why did we say 10,500? Because that was the breakout point right around here, okay? So let me give you an example. Let me give you an example on F. And this is going to make a lot of sense to you guys, okay? This is how I evaluate the market as well. Actually, I'm not going to go to Binance. I'm going to go to Bitfinex because they hold more data. So let's just go to the weekly here on Bitfinex. And I'm going to show you guys something that you should know, which is always take data from very far back, because it's going to be very, very relevant. Okay, you can do something like that, for example. On the daily, it looks a little like something like that, maybe. Or in the weekly, it looks pretty decent, right? And you see here clearly that it's a symmetric triangle. And we're ignoring the Elliott wave. We're just talking about it conforming to a pattern. Okay? Conforming to a pattern. And I'd probably say this is a little bit higher. Right there, okay? And if I actually drew a red line from, I'm going to try to zoom in as much as I can so you guys can see the apex. The apex is basically referring to the point where the support and resistance ends up meeting. And would you agree with me that this point right there is kind of exactly where it's meeting, right? Where this red line is? Yeah. And then, so now that we have a breakout, this is from the one of the first original breakouts in 2017. So then if you go all the way to here, you can see that red line still. See this region right there that's acting as a resistance. See this region right there as well that's acting as a resistance. So because we're taking data from the past, we can use it as an interim, which is kind of meaning just in between, an in between type of support or resistance. Okay, now let's see if we can translate that as well to Bitcoin. Okay, let's go to daily here, and we say to ourselves, well, okay, well, it broke out. 10,400 was a resistance. Okay, and now we're gonna take this horizontal ray, 10,400, 500 range, right around here. If you go to a weekly, what you'll see is this. Check this out. If you go to a weekly, you'll just kind of see this right here, okay? That's like 10,700, we'll say. 600, right around those kind of ranges. 7,500, 700 was a resistance. So now we're trying to find the next region where it was possible for us to have some sort of resistance, okay? And it's really clear to me that the next resistance, okay, depending on the time frame that you're looking at, it can show us different types of resistance or different ranges of resistances, and they're all relevant, and none of them are more right than wrong. But some, actually, I would be lying if I said that. Some are more right than others because they have more activity in those particular regions, okay? Okay, so now, whoops, sorry about that. I'm using a mouse as well, kind of screws things up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm just gonna draw this. Okay, that's a pretty well drawn, you can say. All right, and this one here was trending kind of like this as well. So you just draw it the best that you can to kind of conform the area that you're kind of working in, right? It would be something like that. It's not the best triangle, but it certainly is conforming in those areas. And on higher time frames, it's going to show pretty much the wicks only because these are dailies, right? And it's not the best. I'm not going to deny that, okay? But you just kind of try to form your best to formulate these regions by demarcating where it is, and just try to get the median, the average, okay? So then if you take a look here, you can clearly see that the average of this particular region in here, just look at the middle of it, okay? It would probably be right around here is what I'm guessing. Right around somewhere like there. That red line before everything kind of goes to poops. And that's at $10,500 range. Not only is it at 10,500, okay, but it's also at the peak of this particular high when it went up to 10,500. So I've got two reasons. I got this whole conglomerate of a region there. I've got that high as well. So it was really logical for us to assume that 10,500 or 9,500 to 10,500 was going to be some sort of resistance. Okay, but Bitcoin didn't care about 10,500 at all, but on the upside. But you know what, though? It's going to care about it coming to the downside. Trust me, I assure you of that. So when it comes to the downside, right now, not right now, but if it does correct, we're going to probably end up finding a resistance, or sorry, a support that was formerly a resistance. Does that make sense so far? And one thing I really want to emphasize again is this particular resistance now, okay, that we're at, which is right at here. It's this one right there that we're at because of this particular region over here. And that must be respected, okay? That's why we're getting all of these massive regions of contention where the bulls and the bears are fighting a lot right now. And we're going to need a lot more of a detailed Elliott wave count to accurately see what count we're in for this particular part. But now let's go down the RSI and just see what we're doing here. let's go to the weekly first of all. Our side is, higher, like we mentioned. MACD is crossing to the upside, so it is bullish. But never deny the fact that we are at a resistance right now, and it could be very painful if we don't break out of it, which I don't think we will. I think we're more likely to correct to the $10,500 region down over here. Okay, down over here. And if you take a look at it right here, okay, there's one point right there. There's one point right there. We could most likely correct to those particular regions, and we could see higher highs this month already. 10,500 will be a phenomenal region for us to correct to, but as long as we stay above certain regions, as long as we stay above, the February range, this is February right there, and as long as we say it's not just 10,500, but if you take a sloped one, like I drew earlier for us, right around there, as long as we stay above those types of particular regions, we're going to be pretty good, in my opinion, for a nice little bull run this year that could be leading all the way up to the next year. Okay? So, in my opinion, we're going to correct to 10,500 ranges. And if we hold above those levels, we've got a lot of different levels of resistance that we need to break. If we hold past or above 10,500, we're probably going to end up shooting up to $12,000, guys. And then once we break above there, we probably want to stay above, 11.5K ranges, or definitely 10.5 again. And the next range of resistance is, of course, 13K. It's literally every $1,000 so far. 13K, and then we got this next one up here at 14K. So we got some major challenges that are dating back for over a year before we can have this stupid, crazy bull run. And the main thing to consider right now is that we need to be able to hold these supports, okay? If you look at the daily right now, we just got a bearishly spinning top, or was it a doji? That's like a bearishly spinning top or hammer candle. And that's a indecisive hesitation candle that's indicating that the bulls are losing steam. And it's now 2 days in a row where the bulls have pushed up here to 10,400 ranges, got rejected. Then the next day, the bulls, or just yesterday, the bulls pushed to 11,250, got rejected, right? And then now, the third day, we're probably going to get a little doji. And the next few days, I can imagine that we're going to get some consolidation, and we're going to be really, really much so inching towards that consolidation, finding the support, and then we can pretty much blow out of there. As long as we get past the 11,400 range again, we're going to shoot to $12,000. And the cool thing about that is that every single coin is going to follow them as well right now. Right now, in my opinion, the 4 hour is pretty, even though it looks like it's about to cross over to the downside, you never know, right? We can still get another nice run. We can still easily get another nice run going to the upside where the red one just keeps continuing. Maybe the blue one even will cross a little bit, and then it just keeps continuing over just a tiny bit. And then we get the crossover there for the major correction that can happen later. So time will tell. But right now I want to forewarn you guys that yes, the 4 hour is crossing over. It's not that significant though, because we are incredibly bullish right now. All right. And because we are very bullish, we can still get some major runs to the upside. I don't think a $400 correction should really be scaring anybody whatsoever, okay? So just keep that in mind, the resistance ranges that I'm talking about, and especially the support ranges. The support range, of course, first of all, is 9,400. We better hold there no matter what. If we don't, bearish market for the whole year. If we don't hold above 10,500 as well, it's going to make getting to $12,000 even harder, okay? And based on all the indicators right now, there's not a single sign of bearish divergence on a higher time frame yet. On a higher time frame, we're exceptionally bullish right now, okay? Yeah, we're exceptionally bullish. Maybe on a 2 hour, but not a lot of people day trade Bitcoin too much, from what I know, because it's not nearly as volatile as other coins, and the percentage moves up are not that drastic compared to a lot of other coins, you can say, right? It might move up like 10%, but other coins, when Bitcoin's volatile, like I think Bitcoin's more of a hold long-term slash swing trade kind of coin. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know a lot of people that are focusing on it to day trade specifically. For example, you compare that to VeChain or something like that, that's going up thousands of percents, or in a single day, coins can move 40, 50%. Those are kind of the coins that a lot of people chase and trade more, in my personal opinion. So, anyways, if you hold, or if we hold above 10,500 or even 94 at the least, a good chance we'll get to 12K. It'll be easier to get to 12K if we hold above 10.5. And the next hurdle is 13 and then 14, just based on the resistances that we're seeing so far over here. So I'm just giving you guys kind of my general thoughts right now of that there's a lot of imperative resistances that need to be broken right now. And in order for these to be kind of breaking, we need to hold at specific key levels. So it's very imperative right now that the bulls start to buckle down, because what they want to do is they want to drive away all bearish sentiment, right? We don't want bears to start challenging them more. We want everybody to go the same direction. This way there's a massive bull rally, right? We don't want it to be like a like a 50-50 split, because then the market just doesn't move. We want it to be like an 80-20, 90-10 kind of split. This way the market just rushes up and everybody just buys, right? And then when there's a general consensus and people start to take profit eventually, then that's when the big short can happen as well, where we're going to see capitulation. So right now it's more of a psychological factor and just needs to give it some time, because we just broke out of a resistance, okay? So anyways, I hope you have a great night, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video so far. I just want to give you a quick update of my thoughts, and I hope that it has helped you in one way or another, despite it not being the most detailed. Have yourselves a great night, and thank you for watching. Bye now.